And everybody say, hi, Fernando.
Hi, Fernando.
All right, there's some energy going up in this room. I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit today about the power of a minute. And what does that minute look like above and below the line? A couple years ago, I had the pleasure of hearing a guy named Willie Jolly speak, and he has this quote that he says that it only takes a minute, only 60 seconds in it, forced upon you, then refuse it, then seek it, then choose it, but it's up to you to use it. You will suffer if you lose it. Give account if you abuse it. For it's only just a minute, but an eternity is in it. Doesn't that resonate with the work and the challenge that we are charged to do every single day in the classroom? I want to talk to you guys a little bit about my story. Everybody say, setback.
Setback.
When I was in elementary school, I was a pretty artistic kid, pretty charismatic, was a great athlete. But I suffered from dyslexia, which is pretty typical, right? 1 in 4 students in the United States, all around the country, suffer from this. And what I did realize is that a lot of my struggles initially, I was that kid. I want to be honest with you. I'm going to put the FU back into fun, all right? I was that kid that literally, all right, between kindergarten to about 5th grade, that when there was a spelling bee, my palm would get sweaty, my heart would start to beat faster. I would start sweating out my t-shirt, and don't let it be in the middle of the wintertime. And every single year, I would stand up, and the exact same word would hit me over and over and over again. And that word was alphabet, right? To me, that word was like far-fetched. I mean, the longest, right? The most difficult task ever. But I didn't realize at the time that I didn't have the supports that I need to actually improve. So that didn't really change until about 6th grade. There was a teacher named Miss Manus. Miss Manus was the very first teacher that saw potential in me. She saw a kid who's gifted, who can draw anything, can almost replicate if you say anything to him, right? Word for word, everything that was just stated. She saw potential, right? Everybody say, set up.
Set up.
See, what Ms. Manus did, Ms. Manus said, you know, Fernando, I've been watching you for about the last 3 to 4 years. I've seen you develop here at Coral Lake and make straight A's and B's in every other subject other than grammar and spelling, and I'm not going to let you off the hook. See, Ms. Manus said that I'm going to invest my time starting today, right now, so that we can fix this. Ms. Manus started taking those seconds, and those seconds turned into hours, and those hours turned into weeks, and those weeks turned into months. Those months turned into semesters. Before I knew it, Ms. Manus, at the end of my 6th grade year, for the very first time, I had made the honor roll and knew that I could be an academic student in academic success. See, my story is not so far-fetched from many of the stories you've heard today, and it happens so often. I was just one of the lucky ones who, there was a teacher who saw an investment in me and invested her time to ensure that my path was set in a different direction. Say, come back.
Come back.
You know, the greatest thing about that achievement in which Ms. Manus gave me was that she completely set a completely different trajectory of where my life was going to go. See, I no longer was afraid to stand in a room and read if the teacher asked me to. I was no longer afraid to participate in the spelling bee. Even though to this day I'm not a great speller, I'm going to be honest with you. But I had the confidence going forward. And I knew exactly what my learning style was. I knew exactly, right, what my potential could be. See, when we talk about potential as educators, I believe that teaching is the greatest profession in the world. And from time to time, I get invited to a hot lunch or to a dinner reception, and I'm in that room, right? I'm going to role play with you for a moment. Hey, Bob, how's it going? Right? Bob says, great, it's great, it's great. I'm saying, how's the office? Oh, it's just wonderful. As a matter of fact, Bob, where'd you go to school? I went to Yale. You know, what's your profession? Oh, I'm a doctor. Really? Tell me a little bit about it. And then I asked Andy, I say, Andy, man, tell me a little bit about law school. Oh, man, I had this interesting case, right? And he go on and on and on, and then I say, hey, Kimberly, so what is it that you do? And then Kimberly says, oh, I'm just a teacher. Really? Just a teacher? Oh, man, something just went wrong, right? Because I don't believe that we're just teachers. And the reason I say that is because the truth is those just teachers teach every other profession in the world. We're the very first expert that teaches all other professions. So, quick story with my brother, my oldest brother, was a physics major, right? Go figure. I remember when I was in high school, and it was my senior year, and I was about to go off to college. And I told him, I said, hey, you know, Kevin, I think I'm going to major in art. Now, you can imagine what happened next. Kevin said, I'm going to be honest with you, little brother. You know, man, if you major in art, you're going to end up broke, number one, and chances are you're going to end up being an art teacher in some public school district. You want to talk about a dream buster, man. I literally went from being the most motivated, enthusiastic kid in the world to like totally defeated and saying, well, maybe I could major in chemistry. So I say that to say that it took me, right, almost 5 years to realize that my calling was to be an educator. I completely went the opposite direction. I went corporate for about 2 years and then realized that, you know what, this is not for me. I know exactly where I belong, and I belong in working in public education with students who come from very similar backgrounds as I do, who have very similar experiences as I do, because I knew that I could mobilize potential in them, just like you. But see, I had to learn that the hard way, because just as my brother told me that if you become a teacher, this is what's going to happen, he didn't see the potential in what really teachers do. Right? So, look behind me. You see a kid who's obviously excited to be at the dentist, right? And you see a firefighter who is putting out a fire. See, these are two professions that we, within society, respect to the utmost. But the truth is, see, if my house is on fire, I'm not going to call my dentist and say, hey, could you help me right now? I'm going to call the expert. See, if I got a root canal that really needs to get done, I'm not going to call the firehouse because I really need that right now. See, we somehow recognize that those professionals, that we walk in that office and we see that certificate of honor and that degree that goes with that profession and say this person is the expert, doesn't necessarily translate when we walk into classrooms. And I thought, why is that the case? Why is that the case when I walk into 26 or 34 or 72 classrooms? I don't see that degree on the wall. I don't see that family photo. I don't see that national board certified teacher. I don't see the same accomplishment that prove that that person is just as much of an expert as any other service person that works in any other field. See, I think somewhere we got to get back to the heart and realize that teachers have to understand and know what their worth is. So, why is it that we do this work that we do? I mean, we get this question all the time that, you know, teaching, the core of what it is that we believe in, the core of what it is that students need most. But why do we do it? See, here's the thing. Back to those 60 seconds, I realized that what happens within those 60 seconds has nothing to do with my lesson plan. It has everything to do with the perception in which that student got from it, but the truth is I will never know. So if I'm not accountable for those seconds and those minutes and being strategic in how I'm using them, I might miss out on something. But you know the greatest thing about the profession? The greatest thing about the profession is getting that letter from a kindergarten student that says, Miss McKinney, I love you because you taught me my alphabets. Or getting that letter from that college graduate that says, Mr. Smith, thank you for what you did for me in 9th grade. Or that tweet that simply says, you made a difference. You made a difference. Or that Facebook post, all right? I just got one a couple months ago. I love Facebook, by the way. Kid said, Mr. Branch, I don't know if you remember me, but you told me that traveling the world is only as small as a penny. And if I don't see the world, my whole life is only going to amount to the same value of a penny. Thank you. I've seen so many different countries. I've seen so many different cultures. And that was because of you. See, those small things seem so simple, but for us, as educators, that drives us to do the work. That not only drives us to do the work, we know that teaching curriculum and teaching about life is the real purpose behind educating. You know, and those might come in a way of 1 to 2 or 5 or 6 or even 25 or 30 years. But I can guarantee you, they might not come when we want them, right? Particularly around the 415 club, if you know what I mean. But they always come on time. We have to value that and know exactly what that is, because those seconds is what matter most. So I want to ask you something. If I was to say, hey, today is a great summer day here in Denver, Colorado. And I really feel like going on a bike ride. You want to go with me? Most people will say, hey, yeah, Fernando, of course. I want to go on a bike ride with you. But then when you walk outside, and let's just say you don't live in the best neighborhood, this is what you see. See, our thinking as educators, when you see this machine, you're going to instantly process and say, you know what? I don't know if I take this bike on a ride with Fernando. I don't know if it's going to be the very best thing. See, there's a good chance that if I take this bike, I might not get to my destination. So the truth is, sometimes machines don't work in our best interest. Well, here's the thing about educators. You know, over the last 2 days of this conference, I actually stayed up last night changing this because I wanted to give you something I thought would be very beneficial and helpful. Sometimes our thinking isn't working in our best interest. So, this is the struggle, right? Work-life balance. You know, if somebody can figure out and write a book on how do teachers get this, I mean, they would be a gazillionaire, right? And man, Lord knows my wife would definitely be the #1 purchaser of that book, I can guarantee you. I believe there has to be a line in which there is a balance. For example, being above the line as an educator simply says that I am control or in control of my thinking. Right? Being below the line simply means that I am also in control of my thinking. See, the line simply represents that we're all humans. We can't always be here, we can't always be there. Being above and below the line is something that is human. It's expected. But see, if you think about what our charge to do, our charge is to educate children every single day, whether we are above or below the line. What is our balance? I want to try to help you with that. This is the joy of my life. This is my door to London. All right? And I'm going to show you exactly what that above the line and below the line looks like. All right? So when I'm above the line, You know, this is my daughter, London. I come home from work. I instantly let the garage door up. She hears it. She comes down the stairs running. I open the door and she says, "Daddy!" And she gives me the biggest hug in the world. And I pick up the Lego as I come in, still holding her in one hand. And I say, "London, how was your day?" She said, "It was a great, Dad." And I say, "What did you learn?" And she starts to tell me about the new letter that she learned and the new words that she knew how to pronounce and spell. I said, "That's great. Did you clean your room?" She said, "Yes, Dad, I cleaned my room." She said, "Dad, would you like me to take your shoes off?" I say, "Yeah, sure. Go ahead and take my shoes off." Right? Went on above the line. That's the London that I see every single day. That's my above the line balance, right? Different scene. Today, I had 4 suspensions. I had 5 parent-teacher conferences, which everybody felt that, you know what, I was the fault. It's all on me. I'm the one making all the mistakes. I had my principal say, "I really need you to work on this particular indicator and get these observations done because they're required." I have students say, "Mr. Branch, I really need you to set up these meetings with the student board, and we haven't done it yet. When are we going to get around to it?" So when I get home, let's just say I'm not feeling that great. I go home, I open up the garage. My daughter London, she hears it, she runs down the stairs. She comes to the door, I open the door, she said, "Daddy!" And the very first thing I notice the Lego on the floor. And I say, "London, how many times do I got to tell you to pick that Lego up off the floor? Did you make your bed up, by the way?" She follows me and she says, "No, but..." And I say, "What did you do today?" As a matter of fact, before you even answer that, go make up your stuff. I'm going to go on the couch and I'll be up there in a minute to check to see if you did exactly what you're supposed to do. See, here's the thing. London is not going to change. See that balance that I speak of that we as educators have to possess? Right? The only person that changed in that situation was me. She was consistent. I just chose to deal with her in a way that wasn't in her best interest or it wasn't in my thinking best interest because the truth is, the only thing she wanted to do was love Daddy. So I think the balance that we speak of as educators, it's not day-to-day balance because truly I believe balance is achieved over a period of time. But I think if you really want to be accountable and have balance in this particular work, in this particular career, you got to have balance in deciding how you control your thinking and how is it working in your best interest and how is it not. See, I figured that out. And when I figured that out, I realized why it's important for us to know when we're above and below the line as educators. I think this is the piece that resonated more with me than any other thing I can ever tell you guys about today. Is that, number one, you develop mental habits when you are above or when you're below. So, for example, when I told London, I said, "Hey, London, pick that Lego up." Imagine if I would have did that 21 days in a row, right? Because research said it takes 21 days to generate and create habit. Well, over a period of time, London, she probably wouldn't come and be excited to see Daddy every day. Because my negative thinking has created a negative habit for her. What does this look like? Right? Say I'm driving to school in the morning. Right? It's great. I'm listening to, I don't know, the Jamie Foxx show. On my Sirius radio, I get a couple laughs in. And all of a sudden somebody pulls over in front of me. And then my south comes out. Right? My windows are up and I'm swearing. I mean, I'm really swearing. And I'm ticked off. Right? And I get to school, the very next thing I'm about to ready to do is to educate young minds, and I am below the line. Wow. I had no control over that. So why did I allow somebody to take my name? See, that's why being in control of our thinking is so important. Because if that person still would have come over in front of me, but I knew, you know what? It has nothing to do with my thinking and how I'm going to have an impact on kids' lives. I could have went below the line, but I wouldn't have lived there because I'm going to come right back above. Number two, life looks very different when you are above or below the line. I think we've proven that today. Very simple concept. But man, doesn't it really hit at your core of what it is that we do as educators? Number 3, we use our above and below the line thinking to make decisions. This is by far the most important issue in my opinion, because those decisions we make are those seconds and those minutes that ultimately have the greatest impact and change our children's lives. And see, if you're not thinking that way, you're thinking the wrong way. Because if you're going to try to control that and not live in that area, then you're not going to be effective. Because the truth is, they never know. And I'd much rather be my above-the-line self making decisions and having kids think about my above-the-line self and my above-the-line thinking versus being my below-the-line self, knowing that nothing's positive is going to come out of that. Number 4, the way you make decisions determine how you use those minutes and seconds to change students' lives. You know, yesterday we talked about a starfish and how the little boy picked up the starfish and threw it back out in the ocean. And it really resonated with me because the moral of that story was that the little boy told the old man it made a difference for that one. And I think this morning we talked about how the impact of one, right, can have on the entire universe. I think this is true with our kids as well. Because see, the impact of those 60 seconds that I started this presentation with, those 60 seconds turned into minutes. And those minutes turned into, very good, hours. And then those hours turned into days. And then those days turned into months. And those months turned into years. And before you know it, you're sitting back, you're on the couch. It's a Sunday. Let's say a Bronco Sunday like today, right? Mm-hmm. And you get that one text message that says, thank you. Thank you. That is what makes it worthwhile. That is what makes every action within a minute is what makes a difference.